I'm told by some friends or some clients that have done Antarctica that I am a total coward if I don't do the plunge.
The polar plunge. Well,
Polar
I don't know if
plunge,
you're
yes.
a coward, but you might be wiser than your friends if you choose not to do it. It is a very brisk and invigorating experience. I've done it many times myself. I think it's made all the better when you talk about those soft touches that Traci was just mentioning, because when you jump in, you're immediately taken to in your mind the first place that you can get to bring that warmth back to your body. And there'll be a warm robe waiting for you, probably a little bit of hot cocoa. And then we've got these beautiful saunas on board that you can sit in and relive that moment in your mind with a much warmer embrace of the heat of the sauna.
Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is when you're finally getting around to watching this latest episode of the Luxury Travelers Podcast. We're doing something a bit unusual today. We actually have two guests with us. And the reason we have two guests is this is an important topic and an important part of the world. And I think you're going to walk away from today or crawl away from today knowing that you know a lot more about a very unique part of the world and can't wait to go there. First of all, ladies first, I'll introduce my friend Traci Farden, Traci is a senior manager of national accounts for Seabourn Cruises. She's been in the travel industry for about 25 years. I know she doesn't look old enough to have been here for 25 years, but she's been here 25 years. And she leads development across regional, national, and international markets. And she has a very deep knowledge of luxury cruising in particular. And that's what we want to zero in on today. So, Traci, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to share this wonderful opportunity with our friend Shaun Powell about the Antarctica.
Where are you coming from today? I'm
in Vancouver, Canada.
Okay, so y'all are both Western time zone. Y'all both got up early.
We did. Lots of coffee.
Good. And Shaun, you're the director of expedition operations at Seabourn, so you know a little bit about the extremes of our planet.
I do. I would say I've got about 25 years now of working in basically every climate and region on the planet in expedition travel, literally from pole to pole. And it's been an amazing journey and one that I'm always excited about, as are all of our teams, to be able to share with people when they come along for the expeditions with us.
Well, we want to talk about one of your extremes today, because we're really doing a focus within our agency on Antarctica, and just love to get stuff straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the expert, straight from the guy that pulls it all together for Seabourn. So I think I'll just go ahead and dive right in if that's okay with you guys. And Traci, feel free to jump in with anything that you want to add. We're going to have a great time together and have some great videos that you're going to be able to watch along with all of this. But what is the most popular destination from the expedition sector for not just for you guys, but for your competition as well?
Well, in the industry, it is definitely Antarctica. It's a destination that has really grown tremendously over the last 20 to 25 years in particular. And it's a destination that is so popular because of the fact that it has become more accessible via routing through South America. Ushuaia and Argentina in particular, to a lesser degree Chile, have really become hubs of Antarctic travel. They've built in great port facilities for ships to launch from the tip of South America, cross over the Drake Passage and down to Antarctica. But I think the main reason that is so popular is that I've never met a single person that went to Antarctica and came back disappointed. Now, you can go to Hawaii, you can go anywhere else in the world, and you'll get people that the trip didn't quite land the way they expected it to. And Antarctica doesn't land the way you expect it to because it's always changing, but it never fails to deliver between the wildlife, the scenery. And I think what most people go away from it is they're astounded with the scale and scope of it. It's a really humbling experience, but in a very positive way. I think everyone goes there and finds that their life has changed for the better.
You talk about landing. I tried to go with one of your competitors a couple of years ago, and we were going to do the fly bridge, and we never landed. we spent a lot of time going out there. We had three failed attempts because the airport at St. George Island was fogged in. And only one of the 3 planes got through the first day. No one got through the second day. The third day, we were on the way to the airport, and they sent us back to the hotel. So what we've done with you guys is we're going to do it the real way. We're going to do the Drake Passage, and we've got 2 groups, and we're already booking in those groups. As a matter of fact, I was the first one to book when we got the groups nailed down because I want to make sure that I get to the 7th continent in the next few months.
That's outstanding. Very glad that you're on the first of the list and that the rest of your group is coming down. I'm sorry to hear about the disappointment with the fly-in trips. I've done a lot of private yacht charters out of King George Island through the years as well, and we typically relied on fly-in, smaller planes, but the same problems exist there. It's a very small runway. It's a gravel runway. It's on a very remote and exposed island. And while there are a few operators that are doing this pretty consistently, they have to book in a lot of flexibility because it can vary, as you saw, 3 to 4 days on either end. And if it varies longer than that, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and try again at another time. But by joining us out of Ushuaia, you get to cross the Drake Passage. And people view that as a negative, but it really isn't. It is sort of a rite of passage, if you will, but also it allows you to kind of build up the anticipation as you approach the continent, and you've got a tremendous amount of wildlife, especially if you're into birding, that follows the ship down and across the Drake as we go along.
So the birds are following the ship for one reason, right?
They are. They want food.
They want a free lunch.
That's right. They want food. They watch that wake that we churn up, and a lot of the species that they're hunting are kind of brought to the surface by the ship's propulsion. They also get a benefit of the ship's energy. As it passes through the air, it creates a little bit of a pressure wave, and you'll see these tremendous gliders like the wandering albatross, for example, and they'll just hang right on that pressure wave. Sometimes it looks like you can step out on your veranda and just touch their wingtips as they'll sit there almost steady with the ship the entire time.
Yeah, my grandmother, when I was a child, what I thought she told me was if you can put salt on a bird's tail, it can't fly. What she in fact told me was if you can get close enough to a bird to put salt on his tail, you can catch it. And I know what you mean about the birds.
The result is the same.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions I had down here was, where does Seabourn go that will surprise new to Seabourn travelers?
Antarctica will surprise, for sure. And I know that's the focus of our topic today. It'll surprise people for all the reasons I said before, and also just because the wildlife is so prevalent at some of those landing sites and so unafraid. And even if you built that up in your mind through your Instagram feed or Facebook or whatever it'll be, you're still going to be surprised by it. But another one that I'm super proud of that we've done a lot of work on in the last couple of years is the Kimberly region of Northwest Australia. Right. It's an area that Australians know well, really well. But even for them, it's a really remote and difficult region to reach on their own. Very few roads in and out of that region. And it is like stepping back in time. If you take the American Southwest and drop it back into the ocean as it was formed millions of years ago, and then you add in all the beauty of Australia's wildlife between the crocodiles and the marine sea turtles and the beautiful bird life there, everyone comes back from that. They're just like, wow, I never knew this existed. And I wish I had even more time here. It's an amazing place.
Well, Traci, you're all about the luxury experience. Is this truly a luxury experience that we're going to have on the Seabourn Pursuit?
Oh, absolutely. The Pursuit is an amazing ship. And not just for the hardware, but, equally as important is the software. The staff on board are spectacular, and they have the ability to create these, what we like to call Seabourn moments. They're very intuitive. They will go above and beyond to make your vacation just spectacular. They will know your name. I just got off the venture a couple of weeks ago, and I love the fact that at 6:00 in the morning, as I'm going down the hallway with my baseball cap on, Seabourn, they have my coffee ready for me exactly the way I like it. Just those little details really create such a wow effect when our guests are sailing on Seabourn. And that's something we deliver time and time again.
Well, Seabourn is known for the waiters wading out, the butlers wading out into the water and bringing your caviar. I'm guessing that's not an option on this cruise. You probably don't get in the water for your caviar here, do you?
No, this is going to be more about the ice.
Speaking of the ice, Shaun, I'm told by some friends or some clients that have done Antarctica that I am a total coward if I don't do the plunge.
The polar plunge. Well, I don't know if you're a coward, but you might be wiser than your friends if you choose not to do it. It is a very brisk and invigorating experience. I've done it many times myself. It is. I think it's made all the better when you talk about those soft touches that Traci was just mentioning, because when you jump in, you're immediately taken to in your mind the first place that you can get to bring that warmth back to your body. And there'll be a warm robe waiting for you, probably a little bit of hot cocoa. And then we've got these beautiful saunas on board that you can sit in and relive that moment in your mind with a much warmer embrace of the heat of the sauna. But it is something that so many people take part in. And I think it becomes this group sort of bonding experience. It's a really exceptional moment out there with the Seabourn team.
Well, I've done the great white shark cage diving off the coast of Cape Town. And I was in the water for about 45 minutes with a 5 mil wetsuit. And it took several days to get my blood warmed back up. Are you in long enough for this to have that same effect? Or is the water cold enough to have that same effect? Does it take you a while to warm back up?
It does a little, mostly the extremities, like your fingers and your feet, your toes, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, 45 minutes is a long time, even in 5 mil. And the current off of South Africa is pretty cool because it comes up from the Antarctic, actually. That's why it's so rich and productive. But yeah, you're usually warmed back up within about 5 minutes. But it hits very quickly. It is a bracing effect for sure. But it really, the Scandinavians really embrace this approach, the cold plunge and the sauna afterwards. Yeah, and they say it's the secret to their great healthy lifestyle. So I'll leave your judgment to that experience once you have it yourself.
Might need a little sip of brandy or whiskey when you come out too, right?
I didn't want to say, just to make it a teetotaling experience, but you can bet within the with the hot cocoa, there will be a few extra beverage choices available to you.
Okay, good. Why do you guys feel like expedition cruising enhances the traditional cruise experience that most people have become used to? Because we're seeing in our agency, and we've got a pretty good sized agency here in Naples, Florida, but we're seeing our luxury clients. They're going like, we've been there, done that. What else can we do? And of course, this is one of those what else can we do kind of experiences. But how does the expedition side play into that traditional luxury experience? Traci mentioned a couple of things, but what's on your list, Shaun?
Well, it is the luxury element of Seabourn. I think that is one of our primary differentiators in the industry and in our sector, is that we have not compromised the luxury experience at all when you're joining one of our vessels, whether it be our ocean fleet or our expedition fleet, the Pursuit and the Venture. But what I think makes the expedition different from the traditional cruise line is the connectivity you have to these very remote regions that people go to on our vessels. But it's the team on board, and especially the expedition team. I have the privilege of being able to work with some of the most amazing and adventurous people on the planet, and their passion shines through every day when they're out there on one of our expeditions. In a traditional voyage, you go to, say, Barcelona or Rome or Helsinki, and you'll meet your local guides that day, and they spend all day trying to impart upon you all their passion, all their expertise, all their knowledge. But then when you leave, that connection is severed, and now you're on to the next day. And you may have follow-up questions that you didn't get a chance to ask that day, or conversations that you wanted to continue. But our expedition team, 23 members of our expedition team, are with our guests every day at breakfast, out on deck. And of course, they're in the mobile classrooms of the Zodiac excursions and on shore. And so that passion is continued, that conversation is continued, and that connection is continued throughout the journey. And so many of our team end up becoming Facebook friends and Instagram followers of both our guests and vice versa. And so it's a journey that kind of breeds in or leads into the next journey and the next journey and the next journey. And I think that's the really attractive and unique part of expedition travel.
I think, Traci, the size of the ship probably plays a lot into the things Shaun just mentioned about, and you earlier talking about all you had to do was walk in with your baseball cap on and your cup of coffee was there and ready for you, because this isn't a mega ship.
No, when they're more intimate in size, it is much easier to get to know the personnel on board. And I had a conversation with a gentleman just this morning, and he was telling me about how he got to know some of the expedition team while he was on board, and he's sailing again next year. And he's reached out to them to find out things like, how often are we taking the kayaks out? And, so they have this connection. So like Shaun was saying, it's not just about, the knowledge that they get on board, but it's also what they get to learn when they're sitting with them for coffee, or sometimes they'll have dinner together. And even after the sailing, they keep that connection going, and then they see each other again on their next voyage. So it really creates this really great community of, like when people are traveling to Antarctica, for example, there's so many great things to learn, but just looking at it yourself, you can't really appreciate it all. Having the expedition team there to really explain every single day, there's different conversations happening. So really to give you the meat of it, to help you understand a bit, makes it so much better. And really, that vacation just becomes a really deeply moving experience that way.
Well, and you mentioned that cruising in particular seems to make people more empathetic and connected. Does that carry over to an expedition cruise even more so, probably?
Oh, yeah. It really, travel has the ability to really shift our perspective in the world. But when you're around that raw, that untouched nature, and you're really disconnected from everyday life, really taking that opportunity to slow down and really observe what's around you, you just become more aware of the environment. When you see these glaciers that are towering and the penguins in their natural habitat, really having an opportunity to experience that total silence that you experience, it really reminds us of how vast the world is and how deeply connected and interconnected that we all are. So the Antarctic becomes not just a destination, but, really a place for reflection. And our guests often, as Shaun had mentioned, will find it very transformative in their everyday life.
I read something the other day, a guy that had just come back, and he had written this beautiful piece about the tranquility and the absolute beauty of Antarctica. And he mentioned in his article that NASA actually uses Antarctica as a training ground for astronauts to get used to the solitude of space somehow. Are you connected with that at all, or aware of that?
They do in some areas. NASA has a few areas around the globe that fit different exercises that they're working on. And the Dry Valleys region of Antarctica is a place they've done prep work and training and sort of tests to see how life could be on remote other interplanetary bodies, for Mars, for example. So that's one of the areas that they've trained up there. They've also got, of course, they've got their nutribuoyancy lab in Houston, and a few other locations around the world where they spend a lot of time sort of isolating the astronaut teams for training, and like you said, for the solitude of space.
So, okay, on the Pursuit, what's a typical day look like? After you've had your morning coffee and you're awake, what's going to happen now throughout the day? Now, this is once we've crossed the Drake. Okay,
Is that more for me or for Traci?
No, for you. Since you're the expedition guy, yeah.
Well, after you've crossed the Drake, Traci did a nice job of kind of calling back to the expedition team. You spend that time across the Drake getting to know the expedition team, getting to know the ship, getting your feet underneath you, all the travel down south. So you've got a day and a half of travel. So that pacing of crossing the Drake ends up benefiting you a great deal. And then by the time we sail into our first landing site, it might be in the South Shetlands, which is a small group of islands named for the Shetland Islands in the northern hemisphere because they're at the same latitude. But it may be even further down on the continent itself. And what you'll do is, first things people start looking for is the first piece of ice that they see. There's often a contest amongst the guest travelers to see who can spot one of those floating iceberg monoliths first. But you also start, of course, everyone's there to see their little tuxedoed friends. And so everybody's keen for that first landing to get out there and see the penguins firsthand. And so you're watching for those in the water coming and going from the landing site, or seeing a few of them on ice floes drifting by the hull. But the rhythm of each day is really, we aim for 2 excursions each day. And some of those will be landings. Some of those will be zodiac cruises, kayaking, maybe the submarines. And sometimes maybe it'll be something with the ship where we go through a very narrow but incredibly scenic passage. Or maybe we'll try and park the ship into the ice for a moment where you can walk on the frozen ocean, which everybody gets to be a saint for the day. But it's the anticipation each morning when people get up, they step out on the veranda and they see the beauty around them. They listen for that first announcement from the expedition leader to say that the landing is a go. We're heading out to, say, Nico Harbor. This will be a continental landing, and we're going to see our Gentoo penguins. And then guests go out in their groups. We've divided up the ship to keep it nice and controlled, but also less crowded on shore, both for the animals and for ourselves. We have it divided up into small groups, and so we'll call you down to the landing zone. You get dressed up in your suite, if you like. You have a warming locker in your suite to already have your jacket and your pants and your outer gear nice and toasty. And then you go down and you board the Zodiacs, which are like our Land Rovers of this safari at sea experience, if you will. Your expedition team are your drivers, and they take you out. And even on the way to and from the shore, you're already starting to be sensory overloaded because there is so much to take in between the temperature and the smell and the ice and the beauty of the mountainscapes there. It's like somebody took the Swiss Alps and dropped them right into the ocean. And then, of course, the wildlife. And once you get ashore and your first penguin comes by and tries to undo your bootlaces, you're won over for life at that point.
So, Traci, you just came back. I didn't realize that when we talked over the last couple of weeks. What was your favorite activity on board?
Let's see, on board. I would have to say the dining. I quite love food. And the experiences, whether, it's in the restaurant or, out by the pool, absolutely amazing. Like I said, it goes back to the staff for me, and having the staff know that I want a chilled glass of ice water with every meal, and it's just there waiting for me. Those are the types of things that I love. So the food was amazing. We do have caviar on board as well, which is kind of one of those things that you can order to your suite, or you can have it out on deck. So those are experiences I think that we don't often have at home because we can't just call, somebody to bring it to our room. So I kind of like those little features.
Okay. So what was your favorite activity off the ship then?
I love being on the Zodiacs. One of the thing is because it gave me an opportunity not just to be out in nature, which is spectacular. And when you're seeing everything from that view from the water, it was spectacular. But it also gave me the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the other people that I was sailing with, an opportunity to connect with the expedition team. And again, that, there's not that many of us on the Zodiac. So you really have a chance to learn and to hear what the expedition team is saying and the details that they're able to give. Spectacular. I just felt more knowledgeable and more worldly after every single Zodiac ride. And it was beneficial to have that coffee the coffee and Bailey's at the end. Not everybody did that, and I'm not going to judge, but I did find that was a great perk.
Bailey's just makes coffee even better than it is already.
Thank you. Right? Yeah. Thank you.
So Shaun, kayak or Zodiac? What's your favorite mode of transportation?
Well, the Zodiac holds a special place in my heart. I lived in a Zodiac for 2 summers in the Arctic once on a project, so I'm supremely comfortable in Zodiacs.
Time out. You lived on a Zodiac?
I did. In fact, we had the good fortune of pitching a proposal to National Geographic magazine for a story on the Svalbard archipelago, which the venture, Seabourn Venture, is actually in Svalbard right now. If you follow us along on Instagram, or our voyage tracker page, you'll see the ship up there. But we had the opportunity to do that. We left fuel depots around the island in different places around the different islands of the archipelago. And myself and a photographer named Paul Nicklin, we were up there for 2 summers, and we spent months and months at a time living at times maybe too close to one another when you're around each other that often in the remote wilderness, but looking for opportunities to photograph the beauty of this that special location in the world. Polar bears, walrus, some of the most amazing walrus encounters I've ever had in my life, beautiful bird life and ice, and a lot of extreme cold and downtime where we swapped stories and probably ate far too many dried macadamia nuts along the way. But the Zodiacs are incredible mobile classrooms.
So
and
the whole summer, where do you go to warm up during this? Or do you just not warm up?
We were pretty well prepared. Paul grew up in Baffin Island, so he was used to the cold. I grew up in the polar climes of Northeast Texas, so I was not used to the cold at all. But we were well prepared at that point. And yeah, we have our float suits, our dive suits, our dive underwear. And yeah, we just stayed out. The coldest time was probably on the ice itself, or when you're just sitting and waiting a long time for that shot. I never realized until working with Paul just how much patience it was required to get those shots. And so you have to be still, and being still is when you really got cold. Once you're moving around and doing the work, the temperatures didn't bother you.
Wow. I guess that's what happened to your hair. It just froze off, huh?
I've taken a lot of misadventures along the way, so our guests don't have to. So yeah.
Well, what would be the one place you wish everyone could see on an expedition cruise, and why? I mean, is there a certain spot that you've just absolutely love to get to? I mean, it doesn't have to be in Antarctica. I mean, because I know you guys do the Arctic as well.
Well, I think our entire catalog's spectacular. Our teams have built out a great portfolio of destinations. The Kimberly region I mentioned earlier is very near and dear to my heart. But I would say the one place, if I had to pick one spot on the planet where I wish everybody could get a chance to experience it firsthand, would be South Georgia. So it's Antarctic adjacent. So a lot of our travelers go to Antarctica, and some come back and then they extend their journey to Antarctica, the Falklands, and South Georgia Island. South Georgia Island's about 1,200 nautical miles east of Tierra del Fuego. So it's a little further away than the peninsula itself is. But this is like the Serengeti, the Galapagos, the Rocky Mountains, and Antarctica all rolled into one. And the density of wildlife there has brought BBC documentary makers, National Geographic photographers, and guests alike just to tears when they step foot ashore there. You land there and you can be surrounded by over 500,000 penguins at certain beaches at one time. 500,000. Just imagine, as far as the eye can see, it's nothing but 3-foot beautiful king penguins, and going about their business like you're not even there. It's an amazing place.
I hear that the penguins are kind of thieves, that they steal other penguins' rocks and things and put them away to their place while the other penguins are in the water or something. Is that true?
They do.
You've seen those culprits in action?
They do. Yeah, our tuxedoed friends are not all innocent. The Adelie penguins are particularly well known for that behavior. They will, of course, there's no grass, there's no twigs or anything like that for them to build their nest out of. So what they do is they try to elevate the eggs, and when they do that with pebbles, so they build a little mound of pebbles, and the females are often impressed with who has the best rock, or at least in their eyes, the best rock. So you will see an Adelie penguin in particular go over to the other nest when no one's looking. Sometimes when the occupant is asleep and laying down, and you'll see them pluck a rock out from underneath that one and then hobble over to the nest of their paramour and present that to them like, this is the greatest thing I've ever found. And now we're paired and bonded for life over this rock that I stole.
This is how much I love you, sweetheart, right?
Exactly.
Oh, well, what I missed? What else, Traci, what else can you add since you just came back from the ship? What else can you add? We got a couple of minutes left here.
It goes back to me. We're so fortunate to be able to have, Shaun be so knowledgeable, as you can hear from his conversation today. He has experienced it all. The expedition team, they have really done a great job on putting together a great program that is going to make sure that your clients are having the most phenomenal experience that really will be earth-shattering and really transformative and make a difference in their everyday life, because it's something so great. And aside from that, having that luxury experience on board the ship where the staff is conditioned and intuitive to create those Seabourn moments that make your guests feel so comfortable and so welcome on board. It truly is a win-win. When you marry those two together, you have your tuxedo friends, you have the beautiful nature, you have the staff on board, and in such a luxurious environment, it's only going to be one of those things that your guests are going to come back with and say, oh my gosh, when are we doing this again? Where are we going next? Because the experience is going to be so wonderful.
Yeah, I'm afraid the calls we get from this, people are going to be a little disappointed that we're not doing this next week.
Yeah.
But next week wouldn't be a good time to go to Antarctica, I don't think.
I would say the window is less appealing at this time of year.
Yes. Well, we've got two group dates, one in January and one in February of 27. So we're really looking forward to it, and I just hope I can convince the viewers that it's worth the wait.
It is worth the wait, and that is absolutely the sweet spot, that January, early February, because you not only get the penguin activity down there, you get usually some of the best weather of the season, but the whales will surprise people at that time of year. It is a prolific season of plenty of humpback whales in particular that have migrated all the way down there to take advantage of those summer waters and the feeding opportunities that present themselves to them then. So you're going to have an amazing time.
That's a long swim.
Yes, all the way from the coast of Brazil and other far-flung places, thousands of miles. So they're ready to eat when they get down there. The buffet is open and they take full advantage of it nearly 24 hours a day.
Oh, well, guys, I could go on for another hour or two just hearing about this. It makes me even more excited than I already was about finally getting to the seventh continent. So if you're watching this for the first time and you haven't been yet to the seventh continent, you need to get with the program, because as my good friend, Dr. Philip Randall always says, enjoy yourself. It is later than you think. Guys, thanks for being here with us today. It was truly a pleasure, not to get just one of you, but to have both of you on the show, and I truly appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you, Rodney. Great to get to share this with Traci as well. All of your viewers have a great day as well, and look forward to seeing you in Antarctica.
Safe travels, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.